Hello everyone. So today in this video we are going to talk about solid design principle. Especially for my target audience uh, for this video is one of those people who are juniors or freshers, because these are the people who are most confused about these topics, because they know theoretically, but when they try to write code in this like design pattern, or they see some huge code base in this design pattern, they get confused. Like they know the theoretically this concept, but they don't like fully understand it. So in this video I'm going to give you a little bit of insights, like how you should tackle these kind of solid principle, and how you should you know try to leverage them for your when you write the code. And in this video, I'm not going to explain you about solid principles, like what are they. I'm assuming you guys already know them. I'm just will give you some like in advice type thing, so that you can get a sense of like okay, so that you don't feel alone. Because when I was like a fresher and I knew this concept and I tried to write code, wasn't able to write the code, because it was too complicated. Like for example, there are so many like paradox type things happen, and like I'm like, where do I even start? These are the questions that I got. And second thing I want to tell you is that whatever I'm going to share in this video is my opinion and my observation. So with that being said, let's start. So let me start with saying that solid principles are nothing but common sense principles. Now, what do I mean by that? And let me explain you with an example. So think about it. Uh, that solid principle doesn't exist, and I give you like a software, like I want you to write a software for. So how would you want your code to look like, and how would you start writing your code? Like first thing that will you will do is that you would write code for each task. You will make class, and like for example separate things you will try to make sure that, for example, database related thing you will write in db class, and whatever the thing you're doing, that related task, you will make different class. You will not try to make sure that in one class you can do database also and whatever the task you are doing. You would make sure that you have separate thing for each task, so that it's easier to test. And second point is that you would write code that is easily testable, right, and easy to maintain and easy to read. Like for example, and like you write the code, but I'm not able to understand it, like what each class is doing and how this code is communicating with each other, right? You would write code that is easy to understand and maintainable. And and last thing you would do is that you would write code in a scalable manner. Like you would start thinking about the future also. Like for example, in the future, let's just say some changes comes, so you don't want to rewrite your software again. You would write your code in a way where if even in the future some requirement changes, or any modules you want to add, you can easily extend your software in your code. So you would want to write your code in a such a way, right? So that's exactly what solid principle does. And that's what I want to tell you. Like solid principles are nothing but this is exactly what solid principles like teach us, or like kind of rules. Like this is how you should write code, that's it. So solid principles, this is why I'm saying solid principles are common sense principles. Like you would think like that. Now the problem is this: the solution, like solid principles are great. Like they gives us the clear understanding of writing a scalable and maintainable and easily testable code. That's like good thing about them. But the problem is, as I said, you are junior developer, and so you don't know like how in the future something will change and it will affect your current code. You don't know that. And why don't you don't know that? Because you haven't exposed yet to this kind of problems. Like you don't know what kind of errors comes. Like theoretically, but theoretically is one thing and practically is another. Like once you write code, let's just say a simple program, you write like little bit of like to-do list, you build to-do list, you would learn so much thing that okay, if I write code in this manner, in the future this kind of problems will come. So next time you will want to write code, or next time you will write code, you will make sure that you don't repeat that mistake. So although this solid principle is common sense principle, but as a junior developer, we have not written so much code yet. So we don't know what kind of errors comes up and what kind of problems comes up. Although we theoretically know that, but we don't know that at that scale. So that's why we are not able to write uh, in a perfect code. And trust me, in programming world, perfect code does not exist. So when you learn solid principle, learn them so that you can practice it. What do I mean by that? Well, let's just say tomorrow you join an organization, you start writing code. Before writing code, you start thinking in this pattern. Okay, is this like code is like a, whatever the function or method you're building is supposed to do one thing. Like for example, there are so many tasks that you need to do. So what you will do, you will make for each task single method. Like for each task you will make methods. You will do that because you have read about single responsibility principle in Solid, which says that each class should have only one reason to change, meaning one responsibility. So that in this thinking will help you to write whenever you're writing. So whenever you see any method that is doing two or three more work, so what you will do is, instead of writing all the logic in one method, what you will do is you will say like build two three functions and each function for each task, and you will use those methods in that. So you will, this is how you will use it. So now you used one principle, single responsibility principle. Next time you will try to make sure whenever you write a code, you'll think about open close principle one by one. And this is how you slowly introduce this principle into your coding style. And once problems will come, no doubt about that. Problems will come. And once you face the problem, you will know, okay, so that's what I did, and this is because of that, this is the problem is coming up. So what next time you will make sure that you don't repeat that same mistake. This is how you will learn. So that's it. So don't get too overwhelmed by this, because let me just say, although I don't have like too much experience, but I have a little bit of experience, and with that experience, what I observe is that there's no one fit solution in programming world. Trust me, there are like not just solid principles, there are so many principles. The entire goal of this principle to make sure that you write scalable and more testable code. That's it. So in organization when you will work, there are some inner pattern also they follow somehow. Like they build some standard for them and they follow their standard, so you have to learn that. Like for example, they have, before making class or method, you need to follow certain standards. So you will have to learn these things also inside organization. And at the end of the day, whatever style or whatever the pattern or whatever the principles you guys are following, if these things comes secondary, what first comes is that whatever code you're writing, is it helping the business to grow? That's number one priority in any organization. So make sure whatever you are writing, it should help the organization. Once that is checked, okay, whatever you are writing, it is helping the organization, great. Now comes to the writing part, writing code. And then you should follow these principles. Like okay, so you can follow one two principle here. So you can follow one two principles from here and some other principles from somewhere else. The point is your code should be like easy to read, scalable, and you tested it, like you can test it easily. These There are two three things that you should follow, that your code should do. Once your code is doing that thing, then other than that it doesn't matter. Because trust me, if you write code in a certain, let's just say you write code in a proper solid method, like you followed every rule, trust me, if I want to find a mistake, I will find it. I will find like, okay, this is not properly written, this is, you could have done that, you could have done that. There are so many opinions in that. So you need to understand this thing. So don't get like kind of overwhelmed by these principles and all of these things. The goal is to learn them. Okay, now you know the principle, great. Now whenever you're writing code, think about them before writing code. So maybe you can name them differently. Maybe some methods are doing too much work, so you can just make two functions with that, and you can just explain to your senior, okay, this is why you did those changes. So that's a good way to learn. So I hope this video helped you in getting a little bit of understanding of this, like uh, like comfortable with this solid principles. Like you don't have to remember them, like okay, when you're writing code, like oh my god, how would I do this, like I don't know this interface segregation principle, list cost substitution principle. You know, you don't get overwhelmed that by them, but rather than okay, I need to write code. My code is doing that. If the answer is yes, great. You're doing good job. That's it. And in the future, you will learn one by making mistake. You will learn this thing concept. And as more experience you going to have, the more clear and more like good code you're going to write. In the beginning, you will make mistake, no doubt. So don't get too overwhelmed by that. So I hope this video helped you a little bit in that. And now I'm going to end this video with one more question, which is that what if in your current organization there's no interesting things going on? For right now, you're like there's nothing interesting right now. Like there's like this code already, and you kind of like do the same thing basically again, and there's nothing interesting going on. So in this case, what you can do is, and what I do personally is that I read open source code. So I download some repository, I will like clone the repository, I try to make change, I try to understand these coding standards, because in open source code there are some amazing projects. You can like try to read them, because that will give you also understanding of like how you should write some code. Like how can you write code in your organization, because one day, let's just say after like some time some projects comes up, and then you will have that knowledge, so you can try to understand from that. And that's what I personally do. And second thing that I do is I build projects. So on the weekend, or although I don't recently get so much time, but I try to like implement these principles into my personal projects, like projects, and that projects are not web development related. It could be anything that uses the classes and object oriented things, and so that my practice keep going, because practice makes you perfect, guys. So the more practice you will do, the more better code you will write, because because when you do practice, what happens is that you get errors. So don't give up then, because those errors will teach you so many things that this reading blogs and watching video will not teach you. So make sure when you get error, try to understand it error, why it came. We have chat gpt, guys, so use it. Like whenever you get error, don't just copy paste the answer from the chat gpt, because I have seen so many people who done that. But you shouldn't do that, because what you should do is instead is that try to understand the problem from chat gpt. Okay, why did it come, and what's the cause for this kind of problem, so that you understand deeper level. So next time you don't make the mistake and you become better developer. So yeah, that's it in this video, and I hope it helped you a little bit, guys. And I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much, and see you in the next video.